children are part of the Wilaya Family Academy. So that's a big thing that we want to promote the children who are studying over here, but also according to like how Dr. Hatem said, we want to build their character. And character can only be built when we are practicing the knowledge, when we are speaking, when we are gaining confidence. So as part of that, there will be 3 short speeches. One is going to be just the talawat. So, Uzail, you can recite any surah, Inna Atayna, anything. It should be a very quick one. Then Nikash and Malaika will be giving short speeches. And then we'll have a majlis followed by Salatul Maghrib. So, Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It's welcome. Uzail.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Qul huwallahu
Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim.
Ar-Rahmanir Rahim.
Good.
Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad.
Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ahsan. Very good. Very good. MashaAllah. MashaAllah.
So I would now invite, I don't know who wants to come first, Malaika or Nikash?
I think Malaika.
Okay,
Go first.
yes. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. I want to speak about Syeda Fatima Zehra, the Lady of Heaven and the daughter of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who inspired us even centuries later. Married to Imam Ali alayhi salam, together they led an extremely modest life, often going hungry themselves to feed others. Once while cooking, Fatima hands became badly blistered from long hours of grinding grains to give to the poor. Even insane pain did not stop her self-service. In addition to immense compassion, Syeda Fatima possessed to wisdom. Prominent figure came to her seeking counsel on social causes, marriage disputes, and religion mattered. They were astonished by her insightful verdict, which upheld justice, held divides between people. Growing up, Fatima Zehra faced immense hardship from persecution unleashed against her family to long day grinding grain in poverty. However, 3 powerful lessons shine through. 1. Loyal in adversity. Despite seeing her father insulted and attacked, Syeda Fatima al-Islam never wavered the defending and support him. She transformed trial into results. We too must stick steadfastly, but more cause, especially when it's tough. Service over self. Through just a teenager, Syeda gave her all the uplift and vulnerable, the hungry slaves, outcast the society. She often tended to the wounds of others while enduring her own silence. We too can put aside ego and service people in need. 3. True over comfort. Fatima bodily stood up in dangerous rule, violating justice after her father passed away. She sacrificed her own safety and integrity. We too must speak to power the reform opposition. Through not even 20 years old when she returned to Allah, Syeda Fatima sincerely sacrificed and unwavered commitment to standing by faith, uplifting humanity, and championing justice. Radiate universe lessons to shape our character beyond in background or belief. She walked to the faithful no matter the cost. May Allah grant us the wisdom and strength to follow her footsteps. Salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Now is the time for Malaya, please. After that, the Majlis will be by Farhan.
Assalamualaikum.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله
Syeda
وبركاته.
Fatima Zehra AS. O Fatima, mistress of the pure and just of exemplarity, characters and divine trust, and glances, countenance, yet regular dignity defines your name. Muhammad's beloved, Ali's exalted fame, as heavens open with the message for men, the Prophet's most staunch devotee, you began with wounds and sorrows. Your loyalty was proven, constant threats could not curtail resolves, unshaken, a blossoming flower in the garden of kindness. You were spreading the fragrance of piety and wisdom afar. Patience, loyalty, and courage defines your days. Selfishness, justice, and sacrifice paved your ways to the opposite. A supporting mother, you were to the forlorn, hope and comfort. You offered suffering, training, but refusing to quiver. Moral courage in the enduring river. Though in poverty upon mortal sin, the Queen of Heaven, now upon high, you stand interceding for sinners to find their way towards divine mercy. Your hands forever convey. Salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Good.
Within a few minutes, Farhan will come to give a speech on the Majlis. And thank you very much for coming every Friday. And plus, you know that what are the programs we are going on with the children every Saturday. So we will request the parents to come with them so that they will get interest, and at the same time the parent will know also, and then they can discuss at the home also what on the day they have learned from them. So may I ask you to come and join now? Please. Sallu ala Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الملك الحق المبين. اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك على النبي الأمي العربي الهاشمي القرشي المقي المدني صاحب الوقار والسكينة المدفون بالمدينة العبد المؤيد ورسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد أبي القاسم محمد صلى الله عليه محمد وآل محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتاب محكم مبين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فالذين آمنوا به وعذروه ونصروه واتبعوه النور الذي أنزل معه أولئك هم المفلحون. Those who believe in him, honor and support him, and follow the Noor sent down with him will be successful. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa zid wa barik ala Sayyidatil Jalila al-Masumatil Madluma al-Karimatil Nabilatil Maqruba ذات الأحزان الطويلة في المدة القليلة المجحولة القدرة والمخفية القبرة المدفونة السرة والمغزوبة الجهرة سيدة النساء الإنسية الحورة البتول العذراء أم الأئمة النقباء النجبة نجبة بنت الخير الأنبياء فاطمة الزهراء عليها الصلاة وعليها السلام. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Dear audience, today and these days are commemorating the martyrdom of Syeda Fatima Zehra salawatullah alayha. The lady of heaven, the lady of the worlds, the lady of the universe. And there are narrations which talk about her status from the Prophet, whether in terms of just calling her as the leader of the ladies of the heaven, leader of the ladies of the universe, or leader of all the people in the heavens, or in the Jannah. So there are multiple criteria, multiple statuses that she has. So today and the Majlis that we will hold over the next few days and weeks are commemorating the martyrdom of Syeda Fatima Zehra salawatullah alayha. Ma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And there are many aspects when you think about her life. There are many aspects that you can talk about, that you can think about, that you can ponder on. You can think about her innocent childhood, the time that she spent in Shabi Abi Talib, the time when she lost her mother when she was young, the time when she was married to Hazrat Imam Ali alayhi salam, the time when she defended her father, the time when she was the role model of all the humanity, especially the women of Medina. Because the Prophet, when he prayed like a man. He was a man, he prayed like a man. He did Umrah or Hajj like a man. He performed all his duties as a man. So, but there were 50% of the population who had to learn about Islam. How would they learn about Islam? The women of the time. Syeda Fatima Zehra was the role model who was explaining all of these things to them. Not any of the wives, not any of the other Sahabiyat. It was Syeda Fatima Zehra salawatullah alayha. Huma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Because if you think about the life of the Prophet in the first 10 years after announcing his Nabuwa, he was in Makkah. At that time, he only had one wife, Sayyida Khadija. After that time, after his migration, he had 12 wives. During that time of Makkah, if you think about, I just want to bring one point to everyone who has been brainwashed, like myself, about certain wives of the Prophet, how they were so young, and this misconception that was added about a certain wife of Aisha, that she was so young. It was introduced to elevate her status as compared to everyone else. But what actually happened is, because of that, they've reduced the status of the Prophet. Because every time you talk about something Islamic, people come and say, oh, by the way, your Prophet was marrying children. Your Prophet was not according to the akhlaq that he was preaching. Which is wrong, because this was a fabricated narration that Aisha was so young. Regardless, I do want to highlight that the level and the status of Hazrat Khadija versus Aisha and all the other Ummahat al-Mu'mineen was so different. Because when you are young, when do people want to get married? When they're young. When do they want to have a life with their wife? When they're young. So Prophet married Sayyida Khadija when he was 25. From 25 to the age of 50. Say Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam for 25 years stayed with Hazrat Khadija. There was no other wife at that time. And by the way, mind you, during that time, there was no compulsion of praying. There was no requirement for fasting. There was no requirement for doing Hajj. There was no requirement for giving zakat. There was no requirement of religion. The religion was La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. That's it. That was the religion. If a person died before migrating, he didn't have to believe or pray for all the salat. He didn't have to do any of the ahkam that came. Even he didn't have to fight for the cause of Allah. They would have automatically entered Jannah because that was the requirement. Then people, after coming to Medina, Prophet had the requirement of praying, fasting, Hajj, jihad, traveling to these expeditions. With that, he had 12 wives. Out of them, there were different types of wives. But the position that Sayyida Khadija had versus all of these wives is days versus nights. She had full attention of the Prophet. And Prophet never married anyone during the life of Sayyida Khadija. And Sayyida Khadija was the mother of Sayyida Fatima Zehra salawatullah alayha. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So there will be majalis on Syeda Fatima Zehra. There will be a speech by a scholar. I will be likely talking 3 times on this topic. So I've divided my conversation in 3 parts. One conversation that we're going to focus on today is linked to the lessons that we have learned in Wilaya Family Academy about the position of Syeda Fatima Zehra as the Noor. And what is Noor, and how do the non-Shias argue that the Prophet is not Noor, and then connect it to the point that what our motto is. That is to restore the covenant. The covenant that was broken, because of which all the curse has been on the Ummah, the Islamic Ummah. Everything that we see today, that we have seen over the past 1400 years, that is because of that covenant that was broken. So that will be the focus of this speech. In the next few speeches, we'll talk about other aspects. I would recommend, if you want to understand what actually happened to Syeda Fatima Zehra and how the history unfolded, you should listen to Dr. Hatim's speech on Thursday, where he talked about in exact details how things unfolded through through the life of Syeda Fatima Zehra, as well as in those final days when she was being persecuted. So, in terms of position of Syeda Fatima Zehra salawatullah alayha, Allah Ta'ala mentions the verse that I mentioned in Quran from Surah Al-Araf, verse 157. Allah Ta'ala is saying, and follow the Noor sent down with him. Those will be successful. So now the question comes. Now the question comes in the discussions that we have had previously, that Allah Ta'ala created what in the beginning? And this is the discussion that Dr. Hazim laid out in the first two sessions of Wilaya Family Academy. The first creation. In the beginning there was nothing except for Allah. Allah was Himself. And He had certain qualities that He wanted people to understand Him with. Whether it is Rahman, whether Rahim, whether the Khalik, all of these qualities, but no one really knew Allah because there was no creation. So Allah created some creation. That creation was created with Noor. And there is no translation for Noor, but the first Noor that was created was of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And from that Noor, Allah Ta'ala created the Noor of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Huma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. And from the two Noors of Prophet and Imam Ali alayhi salam, Allah Ta'ala created the Noor of Syeda Fatima Zehra salawatullah alayhi. Huma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Now keep this in mind, all of the young children over here, that I am talking about a time when there is no earth. There is no sun, there is no moon, there are no stars, there is no humanity, there are no chemicals, there are no angels, there is nothing in the universe except for these three lights. And from these three anwar, Allah Ta'ala created the Imams alayhi salam, the 11 Imams from the progeny of Imam Ali and Syeda Fatima Zehra alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So these Noor were worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before anything was created. And then the angels came and the heavens come, and I would recommend everyone to join Dr. Hazim in the Wilaya Family Academy every Saturday, because next time we're going to talk about what happened, how the creation started on earth. So I won't go into the details of that, but I do want to highlight that a proof of this from the Quran. Because there is a verse or there is a question that people ask, how is it possible that the Prophet was Noor? How is it possible that the Prophet was Noor? Well, let me ask you this question. There is a verse in the Quran which I will translate. It says, how will it be when we bring from every nation a witness, and we bring you, Muhammad, as a witness against these people? So think about this point. All the people will have a witness. Their prophet of their time will be witness on their nation. But then Prophet Muhammad, who is coming after thousands of years of creation, is a witness on all the other prophets. How is it possible that a person who isn't present today is a witness on all the creation? It is only possible if that person is already present and is seeing all of these things. And that is the justification that the Noor of Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam was created in the beginning, and they saw all of the creation, how it was created, how it manifested, what was the order for that creation, and what was the outcome. Did it meet the obligation or not? And not only that, these Ahlul Bayt al-Islam are still watching over all the actions. Otherwise, how can they be witness if they have passed away? And that is why the Imam alayhi salam, the 12th Imam, the Hujjah of Allah, Imam al-Qaim alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. There are narrations that he receives all of our actions every week, and he prays for us. And also it gets upset if we make a mistake. So if you are a Shia, you have to be careful about your actions, because all of your actions are being delivered to the Imam of the time. in this point, I would like to bring this aspect of Surah Inna Anzalna. Surah Inna Anzalna has a very important point. We all know in the context of the revelation of the Quran, but there is a hidden meaning. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna anzalnahu fi laylatul qadr wa ma adraka ma laylatul qadr. Imam alayhi salam has said that this mention وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ also refers to Syeda Fatima Zehra AS. So we do not really understand what is the majesty and the position of Syeda Fatima Zehra salawatullah alayhi. And that is why there are narrations when the Prophet went to Miraj, and Dr. Hatim was talking about one book and compilation about all the du'as and the prayers of Miraj that he has compiled. One thing that happened at Miraj is when the Prophet was going up and up, ascending one heaven to the next heaven, till he reached the seventh heaven, he reached a point where he was taken to the Jannah. And there was a Noor, tree of Noor. Hazrat Jibreel brought a fruit from that tree and gave that tree to Rasulullah and asked him to eat and say, Allah is asking you to eat this fruit. The Prophet said, when I started eating, I saw a Noor coming from that apple. When the Prophet ate the apple, he got the Noor of Syeda Fatima Zehra in him. And that Noor was transferred to Hazrat Khatija. And that is why, according to all the narrations, the birth of Syeda Fatima Zehra was after the Besa of the Prophet ﷺ, after the Miraj. So she was a Noor, a gift given to the Prophet at the Miraj. Now, there is another important narration, just to confirm this point, coming from Aisha, that Aisha one day saw the Prophet smelling the fragrance of Syeda Fatima Zehra. Aisha asked, what are you doing, O Rasulullah? So the Prophet said, if you knew the status of Syeda Fatima Zehra, you would do the same. And then he repeated the event of how the Noor of Syeda Fatima Zehra came. And then he told Aisha that Fatima is a Haurai Insiya. She is a Hur in the form of a human. She is not an ordinary person. Whenever I want to smell the fragrance of Jannah, I smell Syeda Fatima Zehra salawatullah alayh. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And then there is this third point on the name Zahra. It is narrated that when Allah created all the Anwar, Allah created all the angels were worshipping Allah, and they were praying according to how the Anwar were praying. But at that time, Allah wanted to test the angels. So Allah blanketed everything with the dark night. It was darkness like no one had ever seen before. So angels saw those few lights on the arsh, near the arsh. And angels said, Oh Allah, remove this darkness from them. Bihakke haza. All of these anwar. At that point, Allah said, okay, I will do that. And Allah took one of the anwar and brought that Noor close to the arsh, and it brightened everything. And that's why from that time onwards, the name of Syeda Fatima Zehra became Zahra, because she is the one who brightens things. She brightened the heavens. And the name Fatima stands for the one who differentiates and takes away the Shia of her and her Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam from the hellfire. So those are aspects of Syeda Fatima Zehra when we think about the Noor, the light and the creation of Syeda Fatima Zehra. But I want to clarify one thing before moving forward. Because as a community where the majority, 80-90% of the Muslims are non-Shia, and majority of the Muslims who are Shia, they don't know the true essence. Like Dr. Hatim has said, we need to improve our core. If our core is not there, what will happen is someone will come, with shaitanic idea, and they will influence some confusion in our mind. And when that confusion comes, like the question Dr. Hasim discussed today, and I would recommend every single person who's sitting over here, especially the fathers, to go home and ask that question from the mothers and from the children. Because the question was, why do we need Allah? What is the purpose of having Allah, and what is the benefit that Allah gets by our worship? My topic is not this. I just brought it because we need to have this dialogue and improve our core. Once we have a strong core, nothing will be able to confuse us. But one example of confusion comes when we think about the argument that Muslims give. The 85% of the Muslims who are non-Shia, they bring this verse of Surah Al-Kahf and say that it's verse 110. It says that I am only a human like you, to whom has been revealed that your God is one God. This verse is taken by those who claim to be Muslims and prove that the Prophet was not a Noor, was a human like us. So let's just think about this topic a little bit, because this topic first influences our core. Second, it lays the foundation of all the things that Syeda Fatima Zehra stood for. First, let's give an example, especially for children, for everyone to understand. What is a stone? What is a stone? Something that just solid, staying in a place, has no akal, no movement, cannot do anything, but it's just there. When you add some movement to it, what becomes of the stone? Let's say a plant, a meteorite, a plant, for example. A plant has two qualities. It can move straight, it can grow, and it is solid. But it doesn't move. Now you add another quality, movement. What does it become? An animal. It can move, it can grow, and it is solid. When you add akal to an animal, it becomes a human. So I can say that an animal can say that, oh, you are an animal like me. I'm an animal like them. The only difference is I have akal. The horse does not have an akal. So then the question comes, okay, what is next? There is a difference between a human and animal. Similarly, there are differences between human and the Prophet. Now, if you add to the human an element of wahi, then that human becomes a prophet, a messenger. When you add to that element certain aspects like Sharia, like authority, then that prophet becomes an ulul azm Rasul. Then that prophet becomes a Rasul. When you add book and Sharia, that prophet becomes, that Rasul becomes ulul azm. There are only 5 of them. Prophet Noor, Prophet Ibrahim, Prophet Musa, Prophet Isa, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now then you add the last prophethood and you get Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You add to that the Noor aspect of the Prophet, then you get the first creation of Allah. And that creation who is witnessing everything as it is being created. Now if someone says that the Prophet is like us, because the Quran says, it means that yes, the Prophet eats, the Prophet sleeps, the Prophet moves, the Prophet grows, the Prophet will leave this world. But that doesn't mean that we are like the Prophet. Because Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, they are the first creation. They know what will happen. They have the authority from Allah. They have so many more attributes as compared to us. So we have to always be careful of these things and improve our core. And Syeda Fatima Zehra salawatullah alayha is the core, the center of that cycle, center of that prophethood. Because Let me just give an example. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Why is she the center of this circle? Let's say if there is a person, let's say Huzail, for example. Huzail comes into a room. People will, in his class, what will happen when Brother Ibrar goes to the class? There are 20 other students sitting in the class. What will happen? They will not say, Uncle Ibrar. They will not say, oh, Uncle, Brother Ibrar. They won't say any of that. They will say he is the father of Huzail. So when you're in a community, you are recognized by the most famous person in that community. And Huzail is the most famous person in his class. So his father is recognized through Huzail in the class. So what happens in Hadith-e-Qissa? What happens in Hadith-e-Qissa when Allah is introducing the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam? Allah introduces Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam not through the Prophet, not through Imam Ali, not through Imam Hassan or Imam Hussain, but says that here are Fatima wa Buha wa Baluha wa Banuha. Meaning Syeda Fatima Zehra was the most well known in the heavens among the Malaika, and that's why people, and she was the center of the introduction of the entire prophethood, the clan of the Prophet Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. During her life, she has done many things, but I do want to emphasize one aspect which applies to our life today, which applies to every single aspect of life we do, which applies to every single action that we do. And the reason why it is really essential is because if we understand this topic, if we understand what she did on that day and why she did what she did on that day, we know what is the cause of the problem that we face today in our society. The Prophet ﷺ was ordered to convey a message, the last message, which is conveyed in all the books, whether Shia or Sunnah. That is the covenant or the sermon of Ghadir, where the Prophet said that I am leaving behind you many things. He didn't say a lot of things. He could have talked about what is happening in the world, the geopolitics situation. Because Rome was on one side, Persia was on the other side. He could have talked about the difficulties of the economics that people should have followed. He could have talked about the masail of the religion. But he did not talk about anything. He said that I am leaving behind you two things. Quran wa Ifrati. If you hold to them, you will not be misguided. Then he said, I am instituting an institute of imama after me. If you stay with the imama, you will have blessings. And then he made the dua that whoever follows the imams, may Allah have mercy upon them. And whoever doesn't follow the imams from the progeny of Syeda Fatima Zehra, may Allah's curse be upon them. He made a dua at that time. And that dua was coming from the Prophet ﷺ. So dua coming from the Prophet is accepted. Now, Prophet gave a simple formula. If you stay with the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, with the imams that the Prophet instituted, you will be guided. And you will get blessings from heavens and earth. And there are verses which talk about following the straight path and getting all the benefits from Allah. But what Muslims did in Saqifa was to destroy that covenant. They took another appointee, selected someone else through a conspiracy that was hatched before the death of the Prophet. But when that conspiracy happened and no one was present in the burial of the Prophet and the people started going towards that wrongful caliph, Syeda Fatima Zehra did several things. One of them was standing in front of the court and giving a sermon. That sermon, we normally call it the sermon of Fadak, but essentially it's not only a sermon of Fadak. It has many aspects that she is challenging the covenant that was broken. She is challenging the wrongful deeds that were happened, because she knew that because of this particular action done by these Muslims, for eternity Islam will not be the same. The Islam, the message which was coming from the God, from the Creator, for the resident of this home, for the home that Dr. Hazim explained in the model, this home to get all the blessings from up and down, from right and left, from inside and outside, that message and those blessings were taken away. She stood up, and what did she say? She spoke about 5 things. One, she introduced herself. She introduced that I am the daughter of the Prophet. I am the wife of Imam Ali. And then she did talk about her inheritance. Not only Fadak, but in general the inheritance of the Imama that was given to the Ahlul Bayt al-Islam by the Prophet. And she said that in Quran it clearly says that Sulaiman was the waris of Dawood. Hazrat Zakaria is asking a waris in the form of Yahya. And Quran says that virasat goes to the women. Then how can the Prophet not leave any virasa? And then she is blaming those people who kept quiet. And those people who kept quiet were among those people who were against the lady. Otherwise, if the people who kept quiet, which was the majority of Medina, they should have been invited to the funeral of Syeda Fatima Zehra. But no, only those people who were sincere and stood up with her when she went from door to door were invited to the funeral. And then she talked about what is the divine judgment that is going to come for you. And she told people what will happen after this, because you have broken that covenant. Now, all of those things, until unless that covenant is repaired, we will never be able to receive the blessings of Allah. No matter how much we try, no matter how much we protest for the burning of the Quran, for the killing of the innocent, for the destruction of the mosque, for the apartheid or other things that happen to the Muslims, till that covenant is restored, none of the blessings will come back from Allah. Because that's the promise of Allah. That is the dua of the Prophet. That is why Syeda Fatima Zehra went in front of the court, and all of the people stood in either quietness or brought fabricated narrations to belie the daughter of the Prophet. Now, what do you think? If you think about a child, 18-year-old young man, young boy, there might be like few 18-year-old children or youth over here. What do you think an 18-year-old person looks like? An 18-year-old person looks like black, dark, blonde hair, freshness, walking tall. But if you think about Syeda Fatima Zehra after the death of the Prophet, within the 30, 60 or 90 days when she passed away, maximum 90 days, within these 3 months, she became from a young lady full of youth to an old woman, old lady with white hair. With white hair, walking with a cane, cannot walk on her own, crying day and night, one hand on the ribs. What happened during that time that Syeda Fatima Zehra turned from a young lady to an old lady and goes to the grave of the Prophet and says, "Oh Baba, if you knew what happened to me in these 3 months, these were enough to convert bright days into dark nights. The Masaib that I saw, oh my lady, let me ask you the Masaib that you saw, the Masaib of the death of the Prophet, when not about dying of the Prophet, but because the end of the connection with the Creator, the end of the Wahi that was being revealed, the end of the connection with Allah directly. Or, oh my lady, was it about when all of your prominent, the Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet, left you alone, left the household alone, left the dead body of the Prophet alone, and were gathered at Saqifa. All of these 120,000 so-called Muslims who were in Ghadir and did Hajj with the Prophet, left the Prophet's dead body in Saqifa. Were you upset about Imam Ali alayhi salam burying the body alone? Were you upset about what happened to the right of your husband and your progeny? Were you upset about how the Muslims who call themselves Muslims forgot the message of the Prophet? Within 3 months of the Ghadir, did you get upset when you went from door to door asking for help, reminding people what was the covenant that you just promised? Did you get upset when you went door to door on a donkey with Imam Ali alayhi salam, with Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain, the household of the Prophet that the Prophet had taken to Mubahila, and said, these are my household, and everyone saw you with your household, and you reminded them that you did promise the Prophet about the Imam Ali alayhi salam, but only 4 people came in the morning. Everyone said, yes, we will come. The next day when you went again, were you hopeful that more people will come? But only 4 people came again. The third day again, only 4 people came. This was Medina. Oh, Syeda, are you upset about this Medina and how people turned on you? Or are you upset when they took away your property, which was given to you, and when you had to go in front of the court as the daughter of the Prophet and make your case from Quran, and the person, the ruler, Abu Bakr and Umar, they took the writing of the Prophet and tore in front of you and said, you can go back and we're not gonna give you because you do not deserve, because of the false fabrications that were made? Or were you upset when they came to your house and threatened your house to burn down your house? Were you upset when you said, are you going to burn my house, O Umar? Are you going to burn my house? The children of the Prophet are in the house. And they said, yes, we are going to burn the house. Were you upset when they started putting the firewood on the door of the house? Or were you upset when they started burning the house? Or were you upset when they actually pushed the house and you kept on saying, don't come, this is the house of the Prophet, and they crush you between the door and the wall? Or were you upset when the nail hit your stomach and your baby, Hazrat Mohsen, died in the womb? Or were you upset when you were on the ground and these people came again to put the rope in the neck of Imam Ali alayhi salam and drag him to the mosque of the Prophet? And were you upset when you went with the Amama of the Prophet and say, I will do but dua, leave Ali? And they were not leaving Ali, and they were hitting you. 3 times they hit Syeda Fatima Zehra with whip. Or were you upset when you were going every day and crying? And then the people of Medina said, do not tell Ali, tell Fatima, do not cry so much. Our life is disturbed. So you were carrying your children to Jannat al-Baqi to cry during the day. Or were you upset when you saw your children, 7-year-old Imam Hassan, 5-year-old Imam Hussain, 4-year-old Hazrat Zainab, 2-year-old Hazrat Kulsum, seeing their mother slowly perish away, slowly die, and they cannot do anything? Think about your children. Think about if the mother is dying in front of you and you cannot do anything, and the children keep on crying, oh mother, is that okay? Are you okay, oh mother? Are you gonna be here, oh mother? All of these things and many more that happen are the reasons why in 30, 60 or 90 days a young lady turned into an old woman, and died upset on the Muslims, and that curse remains till today. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. Oh Allah, please give us the tears that we may shed in your marfa and in the sad memory of Muhammad Ali Muhammad. Oh Allah, please help the Muslimin who are in need. Oh Allah, please free Hijaz. Oh Allah, please return Baytullah to Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Oh Allah, please free Jannatul Baqi and protect all the maqamat and muqaddasa. Oh Allah, accept our prayer and accept all the prayers of all the people who are present and give us the tears that we may shed in your marfa. Barak Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad.
طيب الله أنفسك. أحسنت.